before. No movement even close. And to all Americans, whether you are a Republican, an independent, or a disillusioned Democrat, of which there are many, all you had to do is watch that horrible State of the Union. That was the worst president in history, making the worst State of the Union speech in history. But if you're a disillusioned Democrat, of which there are many today, I extend an open hand, an open invitation, and I ask you to join us on the noble quest of saving our country. Saving our country. Together we will turn the page forever on the miserable nightmare of the Biden presidency. What a presidency, what a president. Most incompetent president we've ever had. The worst president, the most incompetent, and the most corrupt. Other than that, I think he's doing actually quite a good job. And we will make America great again. Two nights ago, we all heard Crooked Joe's angry, dark, hate-filled rant of a State of the Union address. Didn't it bring us together? Remember, he said, I'm going to bring the country together. I'm going to bring it together. No. He's a threat to democracy. I will tell you, he's a threat to democracy. Weaponize government, weaponize the FBI, weaponize the DOJ. He's a threat to democracy for other reasons also. Number one, he's grossly incompetent. Joe Biden gave the most divisive, partisan, radical, and extreme speech ever delivered by a president in that chamber, not even close. Rather than trying to bring our country together, he tried to cling to power by tearing our country apart. He's done nothing. You know what their whole thing is going to be? Go after Trump. Go after. We have no policy. We didn't do anything. Everything we did turned out so badly. Go after Trump. And we're ready for it. Are we ready? We're ready. Crooked Joe Biden talked about Ukraine before he talked about America. He talked about the size of a Snickers bar. You know, it's probably true about Snickers. They throw a little bit less in. I'd probably do the same thing if I owned that particular company. But can I be honest with you? Who the hell cares about? That's not what the problem is. That's not what the problem is. That's not what you don't talk about Snickers. You talk about inflation, big league inflation, not that kind of stuff. You talk about the fact that we're no longer energy independent. We're going to be energy dominant. You talk about bigger things. We talk about the whole country as opposed to the kind of things he talked. I think he took 41 minutes before he got to the border, and then he covered it almost not at all. The border is the biggest problem. I think it's one of the biggest problems, the greatest threat to the history of our country. So it took him 41 minutes, and then he announced a plan to send our brave U.S. military men and women into Gaza to resupply the terrorists of Hamas. You know what's going to happen. He wants to build billions and billions of dollars a pier, a nice pier, going way into what happened to the environmental impact statement. Last time I wanted to build a pier, they tie you up forever, right? There's no tying up. But here's the problem. The bad guys will take over that pier, and they'll take every ounce of food and everything else, and then they'll sell it to people that have no money and that it was intended for. We have the stupidest people in the history of our country running things. These are stupid people. I'd like to use a more sophisticated word, but, you know, there are some words that just go, these are stupid people. Joe Biden should not be shouting angrily at America. America should be shouting angrily at Joe Biden. And we should be saying, Crooked Joe, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. You're incompetent. You're incompetent. Get out of here. You're destroying our nation. Get the hell out of here. You're destroying our country, Joe. He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't even know. He doesn't know he's destroying it. He has no clue. He has no clue. Like with the documents hoax. How about that? He's not competent to stand trial, but he's allowed to be the president. Okay, figure that one. We don't think he should be standing trial because he's not competent. But as far as being president, that's okay, right? Figure that one out. I think we'll be taking that one on the campaign trail a little bit. Do you think? Maybe. Only in America can this happen. With your vote, we are going to win the state of Georgia in an epic landslide. And by the way, I have to tell you that, you know, I've done it twice. We did great the first time, 2016. We did much better the second time, like not even close. And it was rigged. It was rigged. But there has never been the spirit that I've seen this time. 2016 was great. 2020 was better, the spirit. But this blows it away. We came in from the airport. We're 15 minutes away. The lines of people standing along the streets coming up to this building are incredible. On November 5th, the curtain closes on Crooked Joe's corrupt reign, and the sun rises on a brand new day for Georgia and for America. By far the most disgraceful part of Joe Biden's service is the divisive and angry speech. It's so angry. Our great First Lady said, I think he's very angry. You know why he's angry? Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's screaming, and then coughing. Wow. And he's always using the right hand. He shakes his hand. Then he gets off the stage. Did you notice nobody wanted to shake his hand? I wouldn't have said. I'm a great American, but I don't know if I want to go there. Now, he's always coughing into his hand, and it's not a real cough. It's a nervous habit. He's got to stop. Because there was no real cough. He just goes. And then you turn to fake news CNN. Oh, their light just went off. Their light just went off. The red light just went off. What do you think of that, Jim? Damn it. That's my fault. I waited too long. You have to hit them fast before they can turn it off. No, it just went off. That's all right. And they'll say the speech was brilliant, not since FDR. You know, FDR was a great orator. Beautiful tone, beautiful. He was born in a very patrician area, to put it mildly. Very rich, very patrician, beautiful accent, beautiful words. He was a great speaker. And they said, not since FDR has a speech been so beautifully delivered. Do you believe this? No, do you believe this? I think Marjorie believes it because she was there. She saw. It's incredible. That DNC, I'll tell you what. You take a look at MSDNC, how evil they are. They're evil. They're sick. They shouldn't even be allowed to do what they do because it's so corrupt. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. They are fighting me. And to think that I had The Apprentice on NBC and I did so great for them. I said before the election, long before I started even, I said, well, one thing for sure, I did so much. I made so much money for NBC. They hadn't had a #1 show in years. They were dying. And that idiot Jeff Zucker was running it poorly. He was running it to the ground. And I came on and I gave them ratings like they haven't had in years. And when I said, I'm going to leave the show now, they wanted me to extend. Instead, they got Arnold Schwarzenegger. What happened is I said, no, I'm going to leave because, boy, are you quiet when you hear this one. Because you haven't heard this before. This isn't part of the repertoire, right? Right, Bert? You haven't heard this one, but you hear how quiet? It's almost like when I do The Snake. It's very quiet. It's so quiet. You can hear a pin drop, but it's true. I said, one thing that's going to happen, if I decide to leave the show, and they wanted me to extend, they were offering me 3 years, anything I wanted. I said, no, I'm going to run for president. Don't forget, we did it for 14 seasons. That's enough, right? But I said, we're going to run. It's hard to give up prime time and a lot of money, no matter how rich. It's a lot of money you make. But you give up primetime television, Thursday nights. It was a hard thing to do. But I said, no, I'm going to run for president. And they were so upset. And they said, no, no, no. And I decided to do it. And they said, who do you think we should use? I said, I have no idea. That's your business, not mine. And they said, what do you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger? I said, hey, he's a movie star. Maybe he'll do well. The guy got killed. He couldn't get anything. You know, Flies watched. Flies. And the show was canceled. Remember, they tried Martha Stewart, too. How did that work out? She blamed me. She said, it's your fault that she failed doing the... I said, why? She couldn't tell us why. I don't know. She never figured that one out. But they used her. But they used Arnold Schwarzenegger, big movie star. And he failed so badly. Actually, they asked me, because I own it with Mark Burnett, right? Mark Burnett's great. And I own it. And they said, well, you own it, so you would like to have it do well. I said, I would. They said, would you rather have it do unbelievably with our big movie star comes in, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or would you rather have it fail? I thought about it for a little while, and I said, honestly, I'd much rather have it fail because it makes me look better, right? Right? I'm not looking for him to come in and top Trump. No, it worked out just fine. He failed. It was like a total disaster. But I did it for 14 seasons, and I said to NBC, you know, I respect you guys. I liked them. I mean, I liked them. But the bosses came up. They tried to talk to me. 5 guys came up, and they wanted to talk to me. They call them suits, but the top suits, the top. And I just said, no, I've decided I'm going to run for president. But, you know, you won't win. It's impossible to win. Nobody's ever done that before. There's never been a person that ran for president that wasn't either a politician or a general. I think it's 92% are politicians and 8% were generals. Did anybody know these little facts of wisdom? So you had to be a general, I guess an admiral and all, but there were no admirals. 8% generals and 92, think of that, 92% politicians. I said, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to give it a shot. And I announced and immediately went to number 1 and stayed there for a long time. Remember, I had center of stage. And then I got angry because I said, no, I want to be in the center. I don't want to be tied for the center. Those guys don't come close. So we had to have a different number. So it didn't have to be 10. It had to be 9 or it had to be 11. It had to be something. But it couldn't be an even number. And they got angry at me. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. So then they ended up doing what I said. But right from the beginning, it worked. And then I got on television, and they asked me that horrible, horrible question, remember? And I said, oh, am I dead? That's the first question I ever got. Megyn Kelly, may she rest in peace. She's sort of making a career by pretending she likes me. And then... so what happened is she asked me that horrible question about women. Women love me. You know, I protect women. I protect. They talk about suburban housewives. And look at that. These are suburban housewives from North Carolina. They followed me. This is their 117th rally. You believe that? 117. I don't know what the hell their husbands are doing. They're home alone saying, is my wife okay? No, I mean, we're not so far, but you know, when they go out to Texas and California, there's like 40 of them, and they look great, but I don't think the husbands can be too... Are your husbands happy about this? Are they okay with... Yes. Well, you have very nice husbands, I'll tell you. But it was an amazing phenomenon, and I do protect women. Look, they talk about suburban housewives. I believe I'm doing well. You know, the polls are all rigged. Of course, lately they haven't been rigged because I'm winning by so much, I don't want to say it. Disregard that statement. I love the polls very much. We're beating him by so much. But with the suburban, they always say, suburban housewives, they want something that's very important, security. They don't want illegal immigrants coming into our country. They don't want illegal immigrants knocking on their front door and saying, I'm going to use your kitchen. and I'm going to use your bedroom, and there's not a damn thing. And that's the nice ones, okay? That's the nice ones. They want safety, they want security, and that's what I provide. I had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of our world. So we went out and we did it, and we went to number one almost immediately, right? I think immediately. I think the first week or something was, I wasn't given credit because it was only one day of the week. So I said, I didn't start off too well. They said, well, you were only given credit for like a half a day. I said, that's okay. So let's see how I do. We went to number one immediately. From the day we came down that beautiful escalator in Trump Tower with our First Lady, who people love our First Lady, I want to tell you. She says hello. We went to number one, and we never left. And then we had a beat. I don't call her crooked anymore. I use that term for Joe. Joe's crooked. And I don't call Hillary anything. I don't even think about her anymore, to be honest with you. But we went to number one, and then we weren't supposed to win the election, and that's what they hate me for, because I won an election that the Republicans were not supposed to win. We weren't supposed to win it. Right, Jim? But we won it, Jim. Jim Jordan knew. Do we love Jim Jordan, by the way? Every day, Joe Biden is deliberately releasing gang members and military-aged men into our communities by the tens of thousands, knowing full well that his policies will cost countless innocent lives. I'm not sure he does know, if you want to know the truth, because I really don't. I don't think he's a good person. I don't think he's a nice guy. I think he's a corrupt individual, but I don't think, and it has nothing to do with age. I know people from 80 to 90. I know one man from 80, he was a loser all his life. It's true. When he turned 80, he made $1 billion doing something from 80 to 90. Amazing. And I know other people over 90. It's not an age thing. It's a competence thing. It's a competence thing. They got to stop. They do the age thing. And they always have me as his age. I'm 4 years younger. So 4 years is a lot, but it doesn't matter. They do the age thing to try and get Trump. Let's get Trump. They never talk about his competence. He's grossly incompetent. Don't you understand that? The question is whether or not he's going to get to the starting gate. I can only hope. I challenged him to a debate. And he said his person, who's really a wonderful spokesperson, his press secretary, how good is she? She actually didn't know what to say. But I do, and I challenge him right now. He's at another part of your state where he's really said some bad things today, and we'll get into that. He said some really bad things. But one of the lives that was taken from us was an incredible 22-year-old nursing student right here in Georgia, Laken Riley. Right? Look at the signs. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. From the time she was in the first grade, Laken's dream was to spend her life caring for others, and I met her beautiful mother and family backstage, sister, friends, some of her friends, her roommate. They said she was like the best. She was always the best. They admit that she was the best, and she was the first in her class. She was going to be the best nurse. She was the best nursing student. She was always the best. She was the brightest light in every room, they told me, and she was the whole world to her parents and to her sister, just to the whole family. Incredible. Then the unthinkable happened. 16 days ago, Laken went out for a morning jog. She was in great shape. She wanted to keep herself that way. And she never came back, never came back. They knew something was wrong. An illegal alien criminal who Joe Biden intentionally released into our country has been, and because he's released tens of thousands of people like this, tens of thousands, because they come from jails and they come from mental institutions. He released them into our country. Biden has implemented a formal policy that illegal aliens who intrude into the United States are granted immunity from deportation. Thus, when this monster showed up at our border, he was set free immediately under the program that Crooked Joe created. I call it free to kill. It's free to kill. On Thursday night, Joe Biden was confronted over this cruel policy. And what did Crooked Joe reply. And Marjorie, I have to say, you were very brave in trying to bring up a point. Very brave. Very brave. That takes courage. It's not easy to do, stand up and do that. That's not easy to do, Marjorie. We understand that. He got Laken's name wrong, calling her Lincoln. No. Mixing her up with the football coach, right? He got the name wrong, Lincoln. And when he asked, what about all the legal citizens who kill people? That's what he said. What about all the legal citizens? When he was asked, what about all the legal? In other words, making excuses. Then just moments ago, I don't know if you heard because you've all been waiting online for 2 days, but just moments ago, this was just before coming up, they just told me prior to what I'm doing right now that Joe Biden went on television and apologized for calling Laken's murderer an illegal. He didn't want to call him illegal. He apologized. He said he should have called him an undocumented, not an illegal, and he wanted to apologize. He wanted to apologize, and, well, they have a new name, too. They have a new name that's even worse. They have a new name. You know what the new name is? Neighbor. They want to call him neighbor. They want to call him another name. Did you ever hear the other one? Newcomer. A newcomer to our country. Are we going crazy or what? Is this country going crazy? How about that one? Newcomer. The newcomer. No, he was illegal. And I say he was an illegal alien. He was an illegal immigrant. He was an illegal migrant. And he shouldn't have been in our country, and he never would have been under the Trump policy. And Biden should be apologizing for apologizing to this killer. Joe Biden, and you understand what's happening here. Joe Biden has no remorse. He's got no regret. He's got no empathy, no compassion, and worst of all, he has no intention of stopping the deadly invasion that stole precious Laken's beautiful American life. We are profoundly honored to be joined today by the family and loved ones of Laken and some of her great friends. I met them. They're so incredible. The whole group is incredible. To Laken's parents, John and Allison, and her sister, Lauren, her roommate, Connolly, and to all of those who loved Laken, the hearts of hundreds of thousands and indeed millions and millions of Americans and people worldwide, they're shattered alongside of your beautiful hearts. We share your grief. We share your grief. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I know how tough it is. It's so tough. We vow to keep Laken's memory alive for as long as we are here on this earth, and we take comfort that she is now home with God in heaven. And I want to thank you, and thank you for being here. Incredible. I know how tough it is. Incredible. What Joe Biden has done on our border is a crime against humanity and the people of this nation for which he will never be forgiven. That's a very hard thing. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it fast. We're going to have the largest deportation in history. But what a tremendous shame that this could have happened in our country. What a shame. Laken Riley would be alive today if Joe Biden had not willfully and maliciously eviscerated the borders of the United States and set loose thousands and thousands of dangerous criminals into our country. To her family tonight, I promise you, I will demand justice for Laken. Justice for Laken. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Incredible. I will fight like no one has ever fought before to ensure that what happened to this American daughter, this incredible, incredible American, that this never happens to any other daughter or anyone else ever again. We will do everything we can that it doesn't happen again. And you know it will, because unfortunately we have so many people allowed into our country that shouldn't be, but we're going to get it down to a trickle. We're not going to let this go on. Our country is being destroyed by an incompetent president, and we're not going to let this happen. I mean, the good thing about his speech, if you want to call his rant the other night, he probably did well enough that he's not going to be replaced on the ballot, because they were talking about replacing him. And I said, you know, he got through it, barely, but he got through it. I think he's possibly going to make it. Nobody thought he was. I sort of didn't think. I guess maybe I still don't think. I mean, when that's the best that a party can do, we're in big trouble. And, you know, they always talk about, it's so interesting. I watch these criminals back there, the press. Look at them. Look at how many of them. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Wow. I always say they should endorse me, because I'm the best thing that ever happened to their ratings. They should endorse me. But I say it, and I say it all the time. I say we have to have a free press. We have to have an honest press in this country. They're like the police. We need our police. We need an honest press. We need free and fair elections. We don't have free and fair elections. We have very corrupt elections, and we need borders. And we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. But we need a free and fair press, and they're totally wise to you. You know, the people are wise to these people. And I'm not saying all of them. I'd say about 94.2% are bad. If you say to all Americans, I will seal the border, I'm going to do it. And I will stop this invasion, I'm going to do it. I will stop the killing, I will stop the bloodshed, I will end the agony of our people, the plunder of our cities, the sacking of our towns, the violation of our citizens, and the conquest of our country. They're conquering our country. These people are conquering our country. They're horrible people. You know, we have China, we have Russia, we have Kim Jong-un, we have all sorts of countries out there. But if you have a really capable president, like me, I mean, I will tell you, believe me, you were very safe. You were very safe. But the real problem is not from them. A competent president can handle them. You can say, really, you're going to do that to us? We're going to tariff the hell out of you. We're going to do this. Believe me, I had them all in good shape. They were all, you were never in any trouble. Kim Jong-un of North Korea, tough guy. But we had a great relationship. You know, they hate when they say that. You know why? Because you were very safe. You had a lot of nuclear weapons. And, you know, you have Putin now talking nuclear all the time, don't you? You know why? Because he knows we have an idiot as a president, and he can get away with that. He can get away with that. But the biggest threat we have, it's the threat from within. It's the radical left lunatics that we have in our country. That's a much bigger threat than outside threats, I will tell you right now. We can handle the outside pretty easily if you're smart. If you're stupid, they'll continue to rip you off. But the bigger threat is from what we have inside. Remember, I used to say, if we don't start changing, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. That's where we're handling. We're heading right to it. Remember, Trump was right about everything, right? The hat. Trump was right. I don't want to be right about these things. You have to be careful, too, of World War III. I'm not going to let that happen. You're not going to have it. But right now, you're very close to a world war on this whole mess that we're in. When I left, we had no problem. Everybody was respecting us. They respected the president and they respected the country. We had no problem. Now we have problems all over the place. I had dinner last night with a great gentleman from Hungary, Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Very, very tough. Some people don't like him because he's very tough, and they were interviewing him 2 months ago. He said it again yesterday, actually. I appreciate it. It's very nice. It's good if you're running for office, I guess. But he said the problem with America is they need Trump back as president. When Trump was president, there were none of these problems. Israel wouldn't have been attacked. Ukraine and Russia wouldn't be fighting. I knew Putin. I know him very well. There was no way he was going in. No way Putin was going in. Putin would never have gone in under any circumstances, but then they gave him added incentive. The things Biden said were the exact opposite things. I said, he's going to talk this guy into going in. You listen to the way he talked. He had no idea what he was doing. And then you look at what happened to energy. Energy went up so high. Russia's one of the biggest in the world for energy. So they had now so much money to do. They wouldn't have had it at $40 a barrel. At $100 a barrel, they were making a fortune. The only one ever to make a fortune doing a war. And that's what happened. This guy is a disaster, and he has to be taken out. You're going to end up, if he's not relieved of his office on November 5th, we have done one of the great disservices to humanity because he is not capable to be your president. Not capable. You'll end up in a world war as sure as you're sitting or standing there. We have standing room only. The press hates to say that, They never talk about the size. We haven't had an empty seat in years. Jim Jordan knows that. A long time ago, I did one in Ohio. And Jim said, man, there's like 10,000 people outside. That was the beginning, right, Jim? And we saved Whirlpool, and we saved some great companies up there, and now they're doing good. They had little problems like they weren't allowed to have water go into their washing machines. Minor little problems. But we took care of it. We took care of the dumping. They were dumping from South Korea and from China. They were dumping washing machines, dryers. And we took care of it, and they love us up there. We love them. And they love this whole family. I tell you, they love this whole family up there. But we have to straighten out our country. We have to do it fast. And we don't have that much time anymore. Even 7 months is a long time. We're waiting, and it's at the end of 7 months. In other words, it's closer to 8 than it is to 7. And the destruction that they are doing to our country, this is a long time. This is a very risky period. This is the most dangerous period in the history of our country, in my opinion. It's the most dangerous time. And that's because of nuclear weapons and other types of weapons that are so powerful. But nuclear weapons, but other types too that are so powerful. This is no longer army tanks going back and forth shooting each other. This is big stuff. And we have a man that has no clue. If I said to him, give me the definition of MAGA, I don't know. Why do you ask that? I said, just give me. It's make America great again, Joe. He wouldn't be able to tell you. We have to stop MAGA. How about where he goes, we have to stop MAGA. We will stop MAGA. We will stop. I said, what does MAGA mean? I don't know, really. Tell me, what does it mean? Make America great again. Let's stop that. That's what they're doing. They are stopping it. If they use their genius, because they are a genius at cheating at elections and things, but they're not a genius on policy or common sense. They have no common sense. But if they use their ability, their genius on making America great again, I probably wouldn't have ever run. I probably would have never run. I wouldn't have to. I'd be now lounging on some beautiful beach someplace or doing something like he does. But he does it during his presidency. Somebody said he looks great in a bathing suit, right? And when he was in the sand and he was having a hard time lifting his feet through the sand, because, sand is heavy. They figure 3 solid ounces per foot. But sand is a little heavy. And he's sitting in a bathing suit. Look, at 81, do you remember Cary Grant? How good was Cary Grant, right? I don't think Cary Grant, he was good. I don't know what happened to movie stars today. We used to have Cary Grant and Clark Gable and all these people. Today we have, I won't say names because I don't need enemies. I don't need enemies. I got enough enemies. But Cary Grant was like, Michael Jackson once told me, the most handsome man, Trump in the world. Who? Cary Grant. Well, we don't have that anymore. But Cary Grant at 81 or 82, going on 100, this guy, he's 81 going on 100. Cary Grant wouldn't look too good in a bathing suit either. And he was pretty good looking, right? He wouldn't. If this guy went to the beach and he enjoyed himself, and he left our border policies alone. We are the strongest, but remain in Mexico, catch and release in Mexico, building the wall, the Mexican army, 28,000 soldiers protecting our border. If he just left it alone, he could have stayed at the beach and everybody would have said, boy, is he looking good. But he doesn't look good. He's got a consultant. You know, we all have consultants, but you have to think for yourself a little bit. And some consultant said, you know, I think the president would look good on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You don't go to the beach there. I don't think that looks good. Are the voters happy when they see a president all week long at a beach? I don't think. Typically, that's not a good look. You'd like to see a president who works a little bit, right? But if he would have left our policies in place and our policies on energy, now I will say he brought them back because he was getting killed. So he let him drill more. But as soon as this election were over, should the unthinkable happen, he will stop all of the drilling. He's only doing it because he was getting absolutely killed, so he went back to the Trump drilling. But even at that, he gave up Anwar, the biggest site ever in the world, probably bigger than Saudi Arabia. Some people, that's in Alaska, Anwar. So it's a shame what's happening to our country. It's so sad. When I'm with people and we start talking about it and they're from other countries, it's embarrassing. On day one of my new administration, I will terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, and we will use every tool at our disposal to rid our country of the monsters who Joe Biden set loose to threaten and kill innocent Americans. Because what we just discussed is happening to many people, many people. People are being killed every single day by these monsters. How about New York? They just put military on the subways, military, because the illegals, as he refuses to say, the migrants, were harming passengers. I mean, think of it. You're going to work for years and years. You're an accountant, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a carpenter. You're going to work on the subways. And now they're like a military installation. And you know why? Because the migrants are hurting people. They talk about the beautiful dream of migrants. It sounds so nice, you know, like in a fairy tale book. But some of these people are monsters, a big percentage of. If you go to El Salvador, Honduras, if you go to numerous of the countries, but we're really talking all over the world. The other day from Africa, the Congo, they had numerous prisoners caught from the Congo. The good news is they all make our prisoners look like very nice people because our people are much nicer. Our prisoners are vicious, horrible people in many cases, in most cases perhaps. But you know what? When you look at the people that are being allowed to come all over the world, they're emptying their prisons, they're emptying their mental institutions into the United States of America. What can be good about that? What? Is there any reason that that can be good? They're probably thinking they can vote, but they cheat, so they don't really have to do that. They can do it without doing it because they cheat so much. But what can be good about that? And how can that even be good politically? I think there's a movement. I think one of the reasons, I think you like me the same. You had 4 great years. We had the greatest economy in history. You had 4 great years, and people looked at it. But I think you like me the same. Let's say you like me the same. You know, they always like to say, 2 very unpopular people are running. I'm not unpopular. I'm at 92 or 94% in the Republican Party. Ronald Reagan was at 86%. It's fake news. These are fake news people. Is that right, Marjorie? No, they always like to equate me with this guy. 2 very unpopular people are running for office. I said, why am I unpopular? I just knocked off 12 people in the quickest time that it's ever happened. I don't know if you know that. It's the fastest that's ever. It's never happened that quick. And in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in South Carolina against a governor of South Carolina, in Nevada, every single state I ran in, we won by a margin that was a substantial record. In Iowa, we won by the highest margin in history times 2. We would double the highest margin. In New Hampshire, I got the most votes in the history of the state of New Hampshire. Now think of this for a second. New Hampshire, and it's up there in, you know, Kennedy territory, right? JFK ran. I got more votes than JFK. A lot of great people, historic people ran. And that's in either party. I got more votes than anybody in either party. In Nevada, I got unbelievable. We got 98% of the caucus votes, and then won the primary too, even though I wasn't running in the primary. I won. I wasn't even running in it because it didn't matter, because it didn't equate to delegates, right? And then we go to other states, but we go to South Carolina, and against a popular and competent but very nasty person, but a competent person, we won in a record. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Think of it. And then we had this beautiful, magnificent couple of states, which, by the way, we won. But then we had our 15 states, Super Tuesday. Every state was like in a record. I think in California it was close to 90% to 9%, and 1% undecided. I said, who are the people that are undecided? 1%, they always have undecided, you know. And I have to say that because they'll say, oh, he doesn't add well. It was 90 to 9. No. There were some people undecided for the fake news. You know, it's a problem. If I have fun and I want to be a little sarcastic, because I'm a somewhat sarcastic person, I have humor. You know why I have humor? Because if I didn't, and I'm looking at what this guy has done to our country, you have to have a little humor. But sometimes I'll imitate, because you know he can never find his way off a stage. You know that, right? He makes a speech that lasts for about 2.5 minutes, and then, then he always goes, you know, do you ever notice the weirdest thing? He goes, thank you. And he points. No, he always points. And then he starts walking, and they're waving him to the other. It's the other stair. And he goes around and doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's lost. Then he'll walk off the back of the stage where there's no stair and fall down. No, I mean, you know, but here's the problem. Whenever I imitate that, they put me on saying I couldn't get off the stage. So I have to be very careful. When I substitute Barack Hussein Obama, has anybody ever heard of Barack Hussein Obama? And I use his name instead of, and I say, our president, Barack Hussein Obama, meaning who's calling the shots. Does everyone sort of understand it? The fake news says, he doesn't know the name of our president. He doesn't know it's Joe Biden. He must be cognitively impaired. I'm not cognitively. And you know what? When I am, you're going to know it. You're going to be the first people. I know my people. You'll say, all right, Trump, you did a good job. Get the hell out of here. That's it. That's it. No, these are very dishonest people. No, I called my wife. I said, baby, how was that? Just tell me. How good was I tonight? She watches it like she loves it, right? She said, you were good, but it's a little embarrassing. Why? They showed you couldn't find the stairs on the stage. I said, they did that to me. They did that. Because it's almost impossible. These things, in this case, we only have 4 stairs. It's a small platform. Look, I have one there, believe it or not, and one here, one there. You had 3, and he can't find them, and they're right alongside of each other. And they all work, you know? I don't know, government must have built it, because you got one platform, and you have stairs all over the place. Built by government. Crazy. So I have to be very careful. I can't be sarcastic. Can't be fun. You can't mix names. Purposely mix names. You know, purposely. In his State of the Union this week, Crooked Joe told a total fairy tale about the economy. But the fact is, under Biden, we have a 3-year inflation rate of almost 50%. Under me, you had no inflation. You had no inflation. Under Bidenomics, the United States has lost 284,000 good full-time jobs in the past year and replaced them with hundreds of thousands of part-time jobs and a lot of government jobs. That's not fair. I could do that too. Let's hire some more people. Make me look good. In addition, virtually 100% of all jobs created under Biden have gone to foreign-born workers. How do you feel about that? Good? And I'll tell you this. The biggest problem that you're going to see from all of these millions and millions, I think the number is 15 million people already. I think it'll be 18 to 20 million people by the time we get rid of this guy. And the biggest, think of it, that's bigger than New York State. I think it's going to be close to 20 million people. That's my prediction. But I think it's already 15 million people. Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, and unions. Unions are going to suffer. I mean, I'm all for everybody. I'm for the worker. But unions, they should endorse Trump because I'm closing our border good and tight. And if you're going to come into our country, you're coming in legally. You're going to come into our country legally. In February alone, nearly 1 million jobs held by native-born Americans disappeared by one. Think of that. You lost 1 million jobs. Black people, that's who lost the jobs. Hispanic people, that's who lost the jobs. That's why we just had a poll come out. Now, it doesn't sound great, but it is great relative. You know, a stiff like Mitt Romney, I think he had 4% of the black vote. I had, as of this poll today, Marjorie, 28%. If that's the case, this election is over. If that's the case. If that's the case, I'll ask some of our great Congress people. We have great ones. We're going to introduce them in a second. But why don't we just call the election over? Because at 28%, and I hope that stays that way. But you know what? And I hope it goes up higher. It should be much higher. Honestly, it should be 100% of the black people should vote for Trump, because I did more for black people than any president other than Abraham Lincoln. It's true. It's true. I did more than any president other than Abraham Lincoln. Think of it. Criminal justice reform. I took care of the black colleges and universities. They would come up to Washington. After 3 years, they said, why do you guys keep coming back? One of them, I got friendly with some of them, really good people. They said, every year we come back looking for money. They do a great job. Black colleges and universities, they have very little money. And then you look at Harvard and these maniacs, and they have billions and billions of dollars. Very unfair. We're going to have to look into that whole situation. We're going to have to. And Elise did a very good job when she destroyed that person, the big plagiarizer from Harvard. I think did she plagiarize every document she ever wrote? I think so. The only thing she had going for her was nice glasses, if you like that look. No, Elise did a fantastic job. We all know that. She was amazing, and it really revealed what they were all about. But I took care of the black colleges, universities, opportunity zones. Tim, does everybody know? Tim Scott. So I shouldn't say, he'll get angry, but I tell him this all the time. So, you know, when we win and people come on, and many people, as soon as you win, I have calls from people that you wouldn't believe. People that were so nasty to me, now they're going, sir, we'd love to come over and make amends. You know, I've always felt you were the best candidate. I think you're fantastic. You know, people that were with the sanctimonious, they were with other people. Well, I'm not going to use that name anymore. It's not respectful. Let's call him Ron DeSantis. People that were with DeSantis were with Nikki. They were with her. Now they're calling saying, sir, congratulations. I've been so busy, sir. I haven't had time to make the call, but now that I'm freed up a little bit, would it be possible for me to come? I'd like to support. I said, I thought you were with DeSantis. Oh, sir, not really, sir. You know, those were false reports. Great comprehension, always had great comprehension, great memory. Oh, I said, oh, no, you were with them. Let's just look it up. The great thing about, one of the only good things about the internet, you press a button and it gives you the whole history of some guy. But they're all calling me Jim, and they're all saying, sir, I'll give you names. I'd love to reveal them right now, but I'll give you names that you wouldn't believe. We've got to stop Trump. He's an insurrectionist. Then 2 weeks later, sir, I'd love to be part of their campaign. I think I could really help. These are phony people. So 90% of them we won't take back, and it could be 100. Could be 100. But with your vote, we will throw out Bidenomics and we will reinstate MAGAnomics. MAGAnomics. Right? You know, I have to explain to the audience, because, you know, I figure, what the hell? It's a Saturday afternoon. We have a little time. You know where I'm going later? I'm going to the UFC fights. You know why? You know why? It's the closest thing I can see that's really reflective of the election process that we have in this country. The UFC fights. That may be a little tamer than the election business, right? But I'll be going to the UFC fights with some friends, and I look forward to that. Dana Whitey's done a great job. I look forward to that. Oh, I hope he doesn't run for office against me. No, he's done a fantastic job. He likes that. No, he likes that because it's an easier business than politics. There's nothing like this. But I have to say that we have a country with tremendous potential, and if we turn that potential and use that potential, we're going to come back. A lot of people think we can't come back. It's too far down the line. It's not. If we don't win this election, it is. I don't think it can ever come back. It's never going to come back. It's too much. But we have tremendous people in the country, tremendous spirit. As I said, it's the greatest spirit I've ever seen, and I'm down to it. This is my third time. I'm going to have to win it 3 times. 3 times. But we're going to turn it around. And we will cancel Biden's work permits for illegals and protect American jobs for American workers. We will immediately end Biden's war on American energy, and we will end his inflation catastrophe, and we will drill, baby, drill, right? Yeah, I gotta interrupt. You know, the fake news will say, "Oh, he goes from subject to..." No, you have to be very smart to do that. You got to be very smart. It's called, you know what it is? It's called spot checking. You're thinking about something when you're talking about something else, pop, 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 and then you get back to the original, and they go, "Holy shit! Did you see what he did?" That's something. It's called intelligence. But so I have a problem because we get so much television coverage, and look at the size. There's never been rallies like this. You know, I had 100,000, 105,000 people, depending. If we wanted a much bigger room than this. This is the biggest room you could get. We didn't want to have rain on you. We have a lot of people outside that wanted to get in, but every place is packed. The problem is, I've got front row Joes over here. And I've got the most beautiful women in the world, in my opinion, from North Carolina. These 40 incredible women, and they come to so many shows. They're up to 117. I won't even tell you how many front row Joes, like up to close to 200. And here's the problem. I feel I have an obligation to the super fans. So, Marjorie, I have to make different speeches all the time. Do you ever notice they're never really the same? And to do that, you have to be very smart, and you have to have a great imagination for putting the right stuff in. Now, a lot of politicians, I know a politician, he's a good politician. He's made the same exact speech, word for word, for, I would say, a good 10 years. He goes into a room, ba, 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 ba. He can't get himself into any trouble. You know people like that, Jim? Yes. He's saying too many, most of them. But we have to give a little action for these people. So we're telling you some stories tonight because we have to do that. But they'll say, "Oh, he was wondering. He must be cognitively imbalanced." No, I'd like to see these guys do it. Let's do a little IQ test. Let's do an IQ test. And by the way, and I said it before, but officially, for the good of our nation, it is time for Crooked Joe Biden and myself to debate. We have to debate. It's for the good of our nation. I say that for another reason, because I saw in the Washington Post today, the Washington Post, oh, what a terrible paper. The good news, it's losing so much money that even a rich person isn't that stupid that they're going to keep it going. But the Washington Post, some real lightweight journalist, quote, journalist, said, "Biden wants to debate Trump, but Trump is not available. He doesn't want to do it." Can you believe this? So officially to you, Washington Post, and you know the reporter I'm talking about, they make it up. They say, "Biden wants to debate me." Oh, he wants to do it, but I don't want to do it. No, just the opposite, as he knows. These are very dishonest people. They're so bad for our country. I want to debate Biden because I think it's important for the American people to hear what's going on and how can you destroy our country like you're doing it. So officially, I want to debate crooked Joe Biden. Anytime, anywhere, any place, I'll debate. But it's no wonder that Joe Biden and his thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them. We're the only ones. There's nobody else. Nobody else. We're going to stop people. We're going to turn our country around. We're going to make our country so powerful, so great. That's why they are weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference against Joe Biden's top and only political appointment, a guy named me. It's a guy named me. Joe Biden and the fascists that control him are the real threat to democracy. Remember that? I'm not the threat to democracy. I'm stopping the threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy. As an example, you read about this. Can you believe this? Sometimes it's not good to be rich. I just posted a $91 million bond, 91 million, on a fake story, totally made up story. Think of it, 91 million. I could say things about what it would cost normally. 91 million. Based on false accusations made about me by a woman that I knew nothing about, didn't know, never heard of. I know nothing about her. She wrote a book, she said things. And when I denied it, I said, it's so crazy, it's false. I got sued for defamation. That's where it starts. And this is Democrat operatives. These are all her lawyers, a big Democrat operative. The judge was a disaster. But Democrat operatives funding and directing her, they gave her the money to pursue the case. They changed the law. New York is a very corrupt place. And this is killing New York because companies are leaving because they don't want to get caught in this bind. They changed the law that allowed women to go back like unlimited. And she went back and she said, yeah, the mid-90s maybe? I don't know. I had no idea when. Nothing. She knew nothing. She went on Anderson Cooper. And she was saying all these wonderful things. And then there was a commercial break. And then she said horrible things after the career. I wonder what happened there. But it was before a federal Democrat, Trump deranged judge. His name is Lewis Kaplan, an angry man. He screamed at my lawyer, screamed at her saying, we're going to essentially put you in jail, because she was incensed that this could be happening. He treated me like a common criminal. He's a terrible person, a terrible judge, and he's a disgrace to what's happening in New York. Think of it. I just posted because we're appealing. And in order to appeal, I had to post a $91 million bond. Normally, it would be you could do that, and then later on, if you go through an appeal process, which could take a long time. This woman is not a believable person. The judge knows this, but the judge is, in my opinion, he's a highly corrupt judge. You had to see the way he treated us in court. So I posted a $91 million bond, and the woman didn't even know when it happened. And she admitted on Anderson Cooper, oh, she said, I think it was sexy. It was this. Can you believe this? 91 million. And then additionally, before another whacked out judge, this guy, you've been reading about it in New York. Companies don't want to go to New York anymore. You watch the impact this has. Arthur Engoron, I got fined, listen to this one, $355 million for having done absolutely nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. And it was proven. He even claimed that magnificent Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach is at a different stratosphere from every other place in terms of houses and values. And Mar-a-Lago is the biggest, the best in the country, maybe in the world. Magnificent Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million when he knows it's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times that amount. But this was good for his false and fake decision. He said I was guilty before the trial started, before he knew anything about it. He says he's guilty. We're only going to have a trial on how much. And this guy Endorsed did exactly what the fascist and racist Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, I call her Peekaboo James, who, by the way, is now being booed and heckled all over New York because they know it's a scam. But he did exactly what this racist, horrible human being told him to do. You know, she sued for $250 million, even though nobody. Then she went in later on after losing every point. She said, we want $350. He said, oh, we'll give it to you. This is unbelievable. Over nothing. Over nothing. And the business community is up in arms. And they're going to leave New York over it. Over that and crime and everything else. They're not looking at crime. They only look at Trump. And just as an example, I borrowed money from a bank. I paid the bank back. There was never a default, never a problem. Never a problem. I didn't even want the money. The bank wanted me to have money because that's what they do. They loan money. A small amount, much smaller than the amount you're talking about, the fine. I borrowed it. I paid it back. I paid it back early, actually, because I didn't want it. I paid it back early. I had to pay a penalty for paying back early. How about that? Okay. I paid a penalty because I paid it back early. They didn't want the money. I said, anyway, the banker testified. The bankers. But the banker testified. No, the loan was perfect. Well, we don't understand. He didn't even know what he was doing there. And this judge, he levels a fine for $350 million, $55 million, $355 million on a loan that's a fraction of that size because he's a corrupt Democrat clubhouse judge. He wouldn't allow a jury. There was no jury. It was a statute that I was sued under that was never used before. It was a consumer fraud statute. Never, ever used before. Did you know that? Never used. Only first time. Where you're not allowed juries, you're not allowed anything. It was in the sole discretion of the judge, and this corrupt judge ruled that I have to pay $355 because you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to take us out, and it's not going to work. Not going to work. Not going to work. It's not going to work. But this is all crooked Joe Biden. It's directed lawfare and weaponization against his political opponents. And that includes really all of us. It's what's happening is just an incredible thing. Now, take a look at your own neighborhood. You have a woman named corrupt Fani Willis. Fani. You have a woman named Fani Willis. Now, even though I believe it's spelled F-A-N-I, to my way of thinking, that's Fanny. But once she became the district attorney, I think she put a little emphasis on the U. Fani. So corrupt Fani Willis hired her lover, Nathan Wade, so they could fraudulently make money together. Let's make money, darling. Let's see, who can we go after? Well, if we go after somebody that nobody ever heard of, we can't make much. I got an idea. Let's do what Joe Biden and everybody else want. Let's go after Trump. And we did nothing wrong. Perfect phone call, other than we challenged the honesty of this election. This election was rigged. Rigged. Let's go after, darling. I love you very much. I love you very much, darling, he said, even though he never did a case like this before. He got almost $1 million. They targeted me to get the most dollars, and this guy with no experience at all. Think of it, he's been paid almost $1 million, and they traveled all over the world together. Isn't that romantic? Is anybody, I mean, it's sort of a beautiful love story to me. These are beautiful people. To me, it's a magnificent love story. Nothing like Gone with the Wind. You know, Gone with the Wind, you're not allowed to watch it anymore, right? You know that, right? It's politically incorrect to watch Gone with the Wind. They have a list. What were the greatest movies ever made? Well, Gone with the Wind is usually number 1 or 2 or 3. And then they have another list you're not allowed to watch anymore, Gone with the Wind. You tell me, is our country screwed up? But think of it. They went on these magnificent cruises, beautiful cruise lines, beautiful, beautiful cruise lines. And they got him because he was paying a fortune for taking more vacations than I've ever seen anybody in history take. Has anybody ever? She may set a record for the most vacations taken in the history of a job. But with money made wrongfully, prosecuting me and other innocent American patriots. We have a couple of them here right now head of the Republican Party, an incredible guy. I mean, they went after him. He's a very good person. We have a certain gentleman in very high office who they went after too, but he beat them because everybody should beat them. And it's too bad a couple of people took a plea deal because they got off for nothing. But, you know, now they want to renegotiate their plea deal. They said this whole thing was a scam. But think of it. So we have Fani and her lover. But then they got caught because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what did they do? They paid it back. She said, oh, man, I'm screwed. Think of this. And they got me. They got me. I got it. I paid my lover back in cash. I get it. And now I, being a very good businessman, I said, now she's really in trouble because now somebody's going to say, where did you get the cash? But they don't ask those questions, do they? But I think the judge is going to ask those questions. I think the judge is an honorable guy. And this whole thing should be dropped because many, many innocent people, their lives have been hurt. I've sort of gotten used to it, to be honest with you. It's like, but these people, they got indicted. Some of them were in their 70s and 80s. They got indicted, and they're great patriots. And they were protesting a corrupt election. They were protesting a corrupt election, or at least in their opinion, it was a corrupt election. I have no doubt about it, personally. But think of that. So now they have her, because now she's taken money because she was a part of the trip, and the trips cost a lot of money, and they went on so many of them. It was so romantic, a beautiful thing to watch, right? Nobody knew she was away for most of the time. And they went after me, but just think of it. So now she's in trouble because she's taken money that she just gave him. So she said she gave it back in cash, okay? That's a lie. That's a total lie. And if it isn't a lie, then she's got a much bigger problem, okay? Where'd she get the cash? So this whole witch hunt should be put out of its misery and dismissed immediately. This is a horrible thing that they've done. They wanted to go after a very highly respected United States senator. And somebody used some common sense. I think somebody probably higher up said, no, you can't do that. A senator that said, is everything being honest in Georgia? Are they having honest elections? Let's indict him for asking that question. No, they tried to go after a couple of people that you wouldn't even believe if you heard their name. Their whole campaign plan is to attack me because they've done nothing else. That's all they have. And this is all coming out of Washington. I don't know if you know. I call him Lover Wade. Lover Wade. Lover Wade spent days in the White House counsel's office. Do you know that, right? Did you know that? North Carolina. Spent days in the White House and days in the DOJ. This is all a Biden thing. The Fannie is not a local state story. This is done in coordination with the White House. The DA in New York is done in coordination. They took their top person in the DOJ and put him in the Manhattan District Attorney's office to prosecute a gentleman named Donald Trump. Isn't that nice? They had a man, Pomerantz, who was Hillary Clinton's lawyer, represented the Democrat Party. He left the law firm, big law firm, smart law firm, very Democrat. It's okay. He left the law firm to serve free of charge in the DA's office in Manhattan to prosecute Donald Trump. So he's a big-name lawyer, Pomerantz. And he left. Think of this. Think of this. He left the law firm, represented Hillary Clinton and the DNC and Democrats. And he left the law firm to go in and prosecute, I want no salary, free of charge Donald Trump. And then they came in and they said, these charges are bullshit. You can't do that. And he quit in a huff. And he wrote a book about it before the case was even determined. He wrote a book. A totally dishonest thing. Nobody's ever seen. And even Alvin Bragg, the DA, said, this is the worst thing. This is terrible. You got to see the statements he made. They want to prosecute Pomerantz now. But this is all coming from the White House. Colangelo is the lawyer's name. And he comes from the White House. He was one of the top people in the White House. And they put him into the local Manhattan DA's office in order to prosecute Donald Trump. This is crooked Joe Biden. And Letitia James is totally controlled by Washington. Letitia Peekaboo James. Did anybody ever hear of her? She's controlled, Peekaboo. She's controlled. Did you ever see the pictures of her campaigning? I will get Donald Trump. This is before she knows anything about me. She's applying to, she is working to become the Attorney General of New York. I will get Donald Trump. I will get him. I will get this son of a bitch. I will get him. I'm going to get him. I think that's a fair prosecutor. New York State has got to clean up its act. And by the way, Fulton County has to clean up its act. They have to clean up their act. Pundits and inside sources say that the attacks on me will be violent. They say that it's violent. The attacks, Biden said it. He said, you know what their whole plan is? It was just released the other day. It was leaked by one of the many people that probably thought it was wrong. Their whole plan is to go after Trump in every way possible, especially criminally and legally. How would you like to have my life? You like that life? Darling, I go home to our wonderful First Lady. She never heard the word indictment. Neither did I until I got indicted so many times in the last few months. I got indicted more than the late, great Al Capone. Did anyone ever hear of him? Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He was a gangster. If he had dinner with you and he didn't like you, you would be found dead the next morning. Your wife would not talk either because she was petrified. No, this was Al Capone. I got indicted more. My parents are looking down on me right now. They're saying, oh, my son, he's such a good boy. He didn't do this shit. Man, my father would say, he doesn't do this. Think of it. I got indicted more than Alphonse Capone, the meanest Scarface. Did anybody see the movie Scarface? He was not a nice man. Even Jim Jordan would be afraid of Scarface. Everybody was afraid of Scarface, but Scarface had a different kind of a thing. They didn't go after him like they go after me, I can tell you that. We can't let this happen. This has never happened in our country before. This happens in third world countries. This happens in banana republics. We can't let it happen here. And it's going to start with Pawnee, and hopefully they're going to end the case. They're going to end the case, not get rid of her, because this thing, and this affair was going on long before the case started, so the case is totally compromised. But we don't need to get rid of her and then put somebody else in there. It's unfair to all those people that got indicted. The list goes on, and they're good people, too. They're American patriots. They were protesting a rigged election, and it should start right here. They should throw out that fake deal from Fulton County. What they should do, they should spend their time going over the votes in Fulton County. That's what they should do. But the attacks will come through various places and through the Justice Department, FBI, even if they have no evidence whatsoever, because they don't care what happens after the election. They only care what happens before, because they want to try and damage me. But here's what's happened. I'm able to explain the situation. And if I was guilty of something, you'd know it. And the polls are all saying he's not guilty, it's a witch hunt, and it is. I've gone through this witch hunt with Russia, Ukraine. I've gone through this witch hunt for so long. 51 intelligence agents talking about the laptop from hell. They said it was from Russia, but they knew it wasn't from Russia. You know that. And many other things, the Pfizer fake signatures. This is what we're dealing. We have a very corrupt country. I fired Comey. I fired a lot of bad people. But I didn't know it ran so deep. It runs deep. We're going to get rid of the rest of them. I know who most of them are, too. They raided my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. They raided with they had no reason to do so. They violated my Fourth Amendment constitutional rights. They can't raid your house. They're not allowed to do it. They raided it. But a thing like this has never, ever happened before. Joe Biden is out of control, but really the people out of control are the people that surround him. I saw Merrick Garland. I really thought, I was thinking about Merrick Garland because I came in and I put somebody else in there instead of him. And I was thinking about him, and he's liberal, but I thought he'd be a high-quality person. But the other day he said he doesn't want to have any voter ID. He doesn't have voter ID. And he said it with a straight face because he thinks voter ID is discriminatory. He said this, you need voter ID. You need identification for almost everything you do. But no, you know, in the Democrat National Convention, the last one, you had cards, identification cards that were bigger than a person's chest, a normal person, not a very big person, but a normal person like this. It had pictures from different angles. It had everything. It had everything. Probably didn't have your social security number, but that was about it. And they had identification. It was voter identification. In that case, it was party identification. You had identification cards all over people. But when it comes to vote, the most important thing we do is vote. When it comes to vote, no voter ID. I don't think we're going to stand for that. But Merrick Garland said that, and he said it with a straight face. We don't want voter ID because that's discriminatory. No, they don't want voter ID because if you have voter ID, it's much harder to cheat. Very simple. Biden is a weak, angry, flailing president. He's flailing and failing when you think of it, right? He's a flailing president and he's a failing president, hoping that something sticks because they have nothing to campaign on. They have absolutely nothing. His administration has been a complete and total failure, whether it's Afghanistan, where we lost 13 soldiers, 38 wounded horrifically with the arms, the legs, $85 billion worth of equipment left behind, and hundreds of millions of dollars of harm. And we still have probably, could be 1,000 American hostages over there. Nobody knows. But he should be attacking inflation, or when you think of it, inflation wouldn't have happened. The attack on Israel wouldn't have happened. The attack on Ukraine with Russia-Ukraine would have never happened. Everything Joe Biden touches turns to shit. Everything. I tried finding a different word, but there are some words that cannot be duplicated, but it's true. Everything he touches, all of this persecution is only happening because I am running for president and leading big in all of the polls, every poll. In the big new focal poll, we're leading Biden by 8 points here in Georgia, and we're leading Biden all over the country. We're leading him at numbers that the Democrats have never seen before. Nationwide in all the swing states, we have the largest leads ever against crooked Joe Biden that we've ever had, and we're just getting started. Look, and it's only going to get worse for him because he can't go against this radical left crazy movement. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. And if we do, we're not going to have a country left. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor because I am being indicted for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I won't. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they are not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in their way. I always will. We're delighted to be joined today by an outstanding American patriot who just announced that he is running for Congress in Georgia's 3rd congressional district. And I have to tell you, he's worked for me since 2016. He's unbelievable. And he's always wanted to be a congressman. He wanted to grow up like some of his heroes in this room, because we've got a lot of great Congress people in this room. He's a proud Georgian, Fayette County native, and he's been a loyal friend to the Republican Party, to me, and to everybody. He's one of the most capable people you'll ever see, and I'd like to invite, where are you? Brian Jack, where are you, Brian? Oh, there he is. Brian Jack, he's tough. He's smart, he's conservative, he's a fighter. He's a fighter and he's a MAGA man. Say hello, Brian. Come on.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I am both humbled and honored to earn your endorsement. And as one of your longest-serving aides, I know, better than most, that these call-up speeches are best kept short and sweet. After all, we're here tonight to celebrate the now official Republican nominee for president, Donald J. Trump. So I'll keep it short. My name is Brian Jack. I'm from Fayette County, and I'm running to represent Georgia's 3rd Congressional District because I believe in the America First agenda that everyone in this room has propelled to enable President Trump to make our country great again. And Mr. President, earlier today, we went through some of your record-setting accomplishments, and because the cameras are now on, I thought it best we go through them just one more time. If y'all could enlighten me, which president delivered the most secure border in American history? Which president gave us the best economy in American history? In 2020, which president earned the most votes in American history? And just earlier this year, who now holds the record for the most votes in Iowa caucus, New Hampshire primary, and Super Tuesday history? Ladies and gentlemen, as Georgia voters, I challenge each and every one of us. Let's get out in November and let's set another record. Let's re-elect the greatest president and political athlete of all time, Donald J. Trump.
He's great. So he's a great gentleman. He's going to go down as a great congressman and whatever he does after that. But he's wanted this for a long time, and he really sacrificed it because he wanted to stay with the campaign. He was with me right from the beginning, and he's as good as you get. So I hope you're going to go and vote for him, and he's going to be there for a long time, and he loves your state, and he loves our country. So, Brian Jack, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I want to do another thing because it's a Saturday and, you know, it's boring. There's nothing good on television. We'd rather do this anyway, wouldn't we? So a person who really has, thank you very much, a person who's got tremendous courage. And, you know, some people go after her because they're concerned about her. She's very popular, actually. They know that, but a lot of people don't. But she's a woman that showed herself the other night when the president was so disrespectful to so many millions and millions and millions of people. She was willing to shout out. Now, sometimes you would say that's not nice, but in this case, it was very well needed because we have to shake this country up. This country has to come back, and it's never going to come back unless we have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Please come up. Come. Come on up, Marjorie. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, Georgia, we know what we're going to do in 2024. We're going to re-elect our favorite president, the greatest president in United States history, Donald J. Trump. Right, Georgia? Let's get it done.
You got a lot of courage, that one. In addition, and I spoke with Jim Jordan, I said, you know, Jim, I'd like to invite this gentleman up because you don't hear as much about him, but he is a hero and he's one of yours. And what he's doing in Congress now for exposing horrible, horrible untruths and people that were really statements that were said about all of us. And I just think he's doing such an incredible job. I said, what do you think, Jim? He said, you got to bring him up. Barry Loudermilk. Barry, come up. Barry Loudermilk is... Come here, Barry. What a job he's doing. Thanks, Barry. Please.
I trust the American people. When Kevin McCarthy asked me to chair a special committee to investigate what really happened on January 6th, I said, Kevin, I'll do it under one circumstance, that I just go to the truth. Whatever it is, we'll find the truth and we'll expose it to the American people and let the American people decide what really happened. And let me tell you, it's not easy. My dad, a World War II veteran, combat veteran, a medic, told me, he said, you know, doing what is right isn't easy, and sometimes it's not popular, but it's always the right thing to do. And people will always try to stop you from doing what's right. I've been shot at, I've been run over, I have been called traitor to this country, and I've been lied about. But we're not going to stop until you have the truth. God bless you, and God bless Donald Trump.
Thank you, Barry. Great guy. Also with us are real patriots, just heroes. I could bring every one of them up, but they wouldn't want to do it because they want to get back to some other things. But you have great people in this state. Mike Collins, representative, friend of ours. True patriot. Thank you, Mike. Great job. Andrew Clyde. Andrew Clyde. Where's Andrew? Great job, Andrew. He doesn't stop. A man who's, people don't know he's a great wrestler, one of the best ever in the country. A lot of people don't know that. I got to know it about 7 years ago. He's sitting in my office. I started to notice the ears, a little action going on in the ears. I said, Jim, did you ever wrestle? Then I checked his record. This guy was a champion in college for 3 years. He was undefeated in high school. I heard he was undefeated. Never defeated. Think of it. I know a lot about sports. To go as a freshman and to beat seniors is almost impossible. He was undefeated for 4 years. He was like 100 and something and then he went to a great college where he wrestled and was the NCAA champion and everything else. And people don't know that about him, but they have to know that about Jim Jordan. He's incredible. And his sons are here, and they're also champions. So please stand up. The Jordan family. Great. And in Congress, he's just like he was in wrestling. There's a lot of similarities, I'll tell you. You have a great father, fellas, and you guys are doing a great job. Also, top champion wrestlers. I don't know, they're a hell of a lot bigger than you too, Jim, huh? I don't know. But I asked your boy, I said, so he's an All-American. I said, are you as good as your father? He said, nope. Not as good as my father. That's pretty good. You're an All-American, and you say the father was... See, I wouldn't have said that. I would say I was better. Then I'd have a problem with... But it's a great family. And to Polly and everybody, thank you very much. Great job, what you've done. Benjamin and Isaac. Benjamin and Isaac, thank you for being here, fellas. A friend of mine, somebody who's really going places. He already has, but he's really gone. His father was a fantastic man, so respected. And he is right now the lieutenant governor of your state, and he is with us all the way. Burt Jones. Burt, thank you. And his great father, will you please stand up? I love his father. This is a tough cookie. That's a great family. Thank you. What a great family. You didn't see crowds like this with all the years. This is incredible, isn't it, right? Never happened before. They don't want to talk about the fake news. There's never been a movement like this, ever, where you come down. Look, Biden's here today. He probably has 100 people, legit people, I'd say 30. But they work hard, and they probably have. That's where he made the statement about, apologizing for using the word illegal. but he had a very small crowd. But every place we go, we never have empty seats. We have lots of people standing outside, sometimes in the rain and the cold, but there's never been anything like it. And this is about making America great again, so it's very important. A friend of mine and somebody that should have been senator, and he was a really great senator, but he should have been senator. Bad things happened. David Perdue. David, thank you. Good man. Another friend of mine, he headed up the hearings in Congress when he was going after Mueller. Remember that? You hear his voice. Is it true that you this or that you that? He's like central casting. A friend, just a great guy. What he did in Congress was amazing. Jim and everybody else will testify to that. And he's loved by the people in Georgia, and I assume he's going to be doing something because he's still a young man. Doug Collins. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug. Great job. You got to watch those hearings. You got to watch the way he grilled Mueller. You remember that? Is it true that you did this? Is it true that you got that? And the guy just said, I don't know. Please let me away. Let me go home. Remember that, Doug? You'll never forget that. I have that on the highlight reels, by the way. Georgia Agricultural Commissioner, the Agriculture Commissioner, Tyler Harper. Good job you're doing, Tyler. Labor Commissioner Bruce Thompson. Bruce, thank you. Good job. An incredible senator, I have to tell you, from day one, he was on the front lines, and he is a popular guy. People love him because he fights for justice. He got what was happening to the state very early on, and Bert can say it, very early on. Brandon Beach, what a great job you've done, Brandon. What a job. Thank you. And so many other politicians and representatives and people that love Georgia, so many that if I ever announced them would never get off. But I just want to thank you all for being here. We have some great people, great people here. All of the great representatives that have worked so hard. From the very first day that we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden, I believe we're going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. I believe that. Every problem Joe Biden has created can be fixed, every problem can be solved, and every injustice can be set right. We will bring this country back together through success. The word is success. They said it's revenge. They said, I'm out for revenge. I'm not out for revenge. My revenge will be success. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and we will restore peace through strength. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. Now, what that means is very simple. We get all these bad deals. We changed a lot of them, most of them, but still plenty of them out there. A lot of unfair deals. If China or any other country makes us pay a tariff or tax, let's say 100 or 200%, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200% right back. It's called you screw us and we screw you, and everybody's happy. And as tariffs on foreign countries go up, taxes on American workers and families will come down. You know, we gave you the largest tax reduction in the history of our country, and we're going still further, and yet we took in more revenue than ever before. And as I said, for many years, I will always protect Medicare and Social Security, which others are not able to do, like Joe Biden. You're not going to have it. It's going to be gone. It's Joe Biden who's destroying them, and he is doing it with a migrant invasion. This migrant invasion is much more dangerous than you think in so many other ways. It's going to have huge impact on rights that you're entitled to, and that includes Social Security and Medicare. We will restore law and order to our country. I am going to indemnify all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States to protect them from being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong actions on crime. They can solve the problem. We are going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. We will take over the horribly run capital of the United States of America, Washington, D.C., clean it up, renovate it, rebuild our capital city so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime, but rather it will become the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world. People from Georgia go down to Washington now and they get shot. Horrible things are happening. You see graffiti all over the place, beautiful columns built 200 years ago and 100 years ago. Gorgeous columns. You say, how did they ever build them? How did they move them? They didn't have the equipment to move them. They moved them through force of will. They got them there through force of will. You look at these massive structures and you say, how did they ever do that? They didn't have Caterpillar tractors. They didn't have anything. They had their hands and their muscle. And they got it done. And now I see graffiti on it. It's not going to happen. We're going to take care of our capital. We're going to take care of our capital. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school at all, pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports. And I will fully protect and uphold our great and very important under siege Second Amendment. We will protect. We will protect innocent life and we will restore free speech and I will secure our elections. We will secure our elections. If we don't, we are a country in trouble. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. But until then, Republicans must go out and we have to swamp them. We have to go out and we have to get so many votes. We want this to be a landslide. That way it's too big to rig. We want to make it too big to rig. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. So if you want to save America, then go vote. The Georgia primary is this Tuesday, March 12th, and Georgia could be the state that puts us, look, if we win Georgia, we're going to win the election. Let me put it that way, okay? We have to win Georgia. So get everyone you know and let's send crooked Joe Biden packing. Let's send him out. So in conclusion, together we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. We've never seen anything like it before. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals that we're fighting against are, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. From Atlanta to Augusta, from Savannah to Columbus, beautiful Columbus. We just left Columbus and it's quite a place. And from Athens to right here in Rome, we inherit the legacy of red-blooded American patriots who gave their blood, sweat, and tears to defend our country and defend our freedom. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the ocean, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now We are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest levels in our history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just a few short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation anywhere in the world. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be reducing their oil production, while at the same time substantially increasing the price. And we met that threat by announcing that we will no longer be drilling for oil in large areas of Alaska and elsewhere on our precious land. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New scam is fake and will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all electric cars, despite the fact that they don't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China, where materials are only available in China, when an unlimited amount of gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States, but is not available in China. And now we are a nation that wants to make our revered and very powerful army tanks the best anywhere in the world, all electric, so that despite the fact that they also are not able to go far, fewer pollutants will be released into the air as we blast our way through enemy territory in an environmentally friendly way. And they also want to make our fighter jets with a green stamp of energy savings, though losing 15% efficiency, but allowing us to keep our enemy's atmosphere clean of emissions as we viciously and unceremoniously attack them at levels that they have never seen before. Who are these people that would do this to us? Who are these people who would destroy our country? Who are these people who want our country to be destroyed? We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the U.S. just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a foolish thing? What other country would be so self-destructive? Can we be energy independent, even dominant again? Yes, oh yes, and quickly, says President Trump. Yes, oh yes, we can. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world behind. And also abandoning Bagram, one of the biggest military bases anywhere in the world, and only 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we are a nation that allowed Russia and Ukraine to fight, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your president, and for 4 straight years, it didn't happen. Likewise, the horrifying attack on Israel would never have happened. They wouldn't even have thought of doing such a thing if President Trump was in the Oval Office. Iran was broke under the Trump administration. They didn't have the money to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, and all of the other instruments of terror that they funded previously. But those sanctions were lifted by a corrupt Biden administration, and now Iran is a rich country again, with $221 billion and another $6 billion that they got for hostages from us, and $10 billion for electricity to Iraq. All compliments of an incompetent Biden administration. They gave them so many compliments, and they gave them so much money. And China, with Taiwan, is next. We are a nation that allows radical left terrorists to violently attack our cities, leaving behind massive destruction and death. And nothing happens to the criminals that do these terrible things. There is no punishment. But when people who love our country protest on January 6th in Washington, they become hostages unfairly imprisoned for long periods of time. We are a third world nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against opposing political party like never ever before has happened in our country. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald Trump to lie and say it was fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, and the FBI knew it wasn't, but 51 intelligence agents said it was, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired and in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war, which would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous world wars because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think about. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they indeed, oh yes, they are indeed the enemy of the people. They refuse to discuss the Biden crime family, but enjoy covering the false indictments of Donald J. Trump, who has done nothing wrong except win an election that was not supposed to be able to be won. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, and where crime is rampant and out of control like never, ever before. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon, and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And less than 3 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They respected us. They were afraid of us. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. And now Russia and China are holding summits to carve up the world. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer admired, respected, or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that has in many ways become a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, faith, and even hostile to God. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every single list. We are a nation that just sold a once great company, United States Steel, to Japan. We are a nation whose stock market's continued success is totally contingent on MAGA winning the next election. That's why it's going up. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up and kill their workers and customers, and leave with armloads of goods, but with no retribution, where the authority of our great police has been taken, where their families and pensions have been threatened, and their lives would be destroyed for the mere mention of the words law enforcement. We are a nation where fentanyl and other forms of illegal drugs are easier to get than groceries to feed our beautiful families. We have become a drug-infested nation, crime-ridden nation. We have become a nation like nobody thought possible. In many cases, we have become, quite honestly, a horrible and unfair nation. We will institute the powerful death penalty for drug dealers, where each dealer is responsible for the death during their lives of 500 people or more. Mothers will never again be forced to watch their children overdosing and hopelessly dying in their arms, screaming, "What can I do? What can I do? What can I do?" We are a nation whose once revered airports are a dirty, crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave, and they have no idea when they will, where ticket prices have tripled. They don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't have qualified air traffic controllers. and they just don't know what the hell they're doing. We are a nation that screens its citizens viciously at the ports, every single port. But if you are an illegal alien, you are allowed to flow through our southern border by the millions. So sad. And look what has just happened to one particular great family with a magnificent daughter who is no longer with us. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communist